Hello again. It's been a while since I last uploaded a video, but um, it's also been a while since I last uploaded a video specifically related to brick rigs. And the reason for this is mostly because I've been trying to, play with other friends of mine as I have to schedule gaming sessions, and especially since I have school. But since I am now in Christmas break, I have finally gained up the time to actually end up making a Brick Rigs video. And I know that for those who are watching, you might be confused on how I haven't really made a Brick Rigs video, but I'm able to make other videos on different games. And the reason for that is actually because I ended up just recording some scheduled gaming sessions with a friend of mine, and the videos that I did end up uploading were actually decently far apart from each other, time-wise. And only reason why I actually uploaded these videos was just for consistency in uploading, and I do apologize for it not being really Brick Rigs related, and I do understand that other Brick Rigs YouTubers, unlike some other people, I'm not really going to point names, but I know how a few other Brick Rigs YouTubers typically don't have this problem, but I'm just saying that I apologize for the inconsistency, and I plan on making quite a few Brick Rigs videos throughout my winter break. And since Christmas is within 2-3 days from the time that I uploaded this video, I've decided to show the vehicles that I've had been getting ready for a upcoming video. And I haven't got to work on recording this new video, but I have gotten an idea set down for it. I'm not going to give away any spoilers yet, so yeah, just look out for that on my channel. It should be coming out between, I want to say, the 26th, 27th to the 4th, no, not the 14th, from the 26th, 27th of this month to the 7th or 6th of next month. Somewhere in between there. I haven't really chosen the date yet, but I do plan on doing it soon. In overall, terms of actually, making a Brick Rigs video right now, in this video, I'm going to be showing a few of the new vehicles that I've gotten set up for the next video. One of them I've actually haven't been able to get to work on because it's school, but I will show you, or not show you, but I will tell you the idea and what it's going to become. But first, I'm going to start with, trying to remember what I haven't already shown yet. I'm just gonna go from here. I'm pretty sure I've already shown this I'm pretty sure I've already shown this tank in a previous video, but I just can't for the life of me remember, so I'm just gonna do it anyways. This is the XA2C, or 2T? I think it's 2C. Yeah, the XACB2T Cerberus. And this is supposed to be a main battle tank that I made a decent while ago. I haven't uploaded it yet, but that's only because I've been freaking god-awfully busy with either school or just the fact that I have to work on other creations, and I know that's not really a good excuse for that, but if you were to build vehicles like this, especially with fully fledged interiors with moving parts, you'd understand why I don't upload a lot of my vehicles right away, and I wish I could do that. It's just, it takes a while for me to upload a vehicle of mine, because one, I like changing things as I go with it. So, yeah, if I don't add something right away, I'm just gonna either forget it or I'm never gonna add it. So, yeah. But other than that, the XA2T, or the Cerberus, is just a normal, basic main battle tank of my made-up coalition, or republic, known as the UNF, or UNF, United Nordic Forces. Just a little made-up thing I have for my creations, or military vehicles, for, like, a what if of, like, if Sweden or all the Nordic countries came together, kind of like NATO, in a way. Something like that. But besides the whole UNF thing, you might think that the turret is kind of similar to the Abrams. And even if you didn't, well, too bad, because I somewhat based the turret off of the Abrams design in sense of the front. And then the chassis itself was just its own thing. I had the chassis on a blueprint, or no, I had the whole tank on a blueprint that I made, but I ended up just kind of scrapping some of the design of the chassis and just winging it as I built the actual thing. But yeah, so the same, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've used it. Yeah, so it has a 5-second reload, has a 120mm gun. I was just making sure that was correct, but I don't have it written down in the description yet. So that's the thing I need to do on these vehicles. I haven't been able to write the descriptions down, which I know isn't hard to do, but it can sometimes be annoying. But other than the gun, it also has a working coaxial machine gun, high RPM one as well. And then the loader, since this technically isn't, oh no, not the loader, the gunner. Since this technically is a multi-crew tank, it does have certain things that only certain seats can use, just so that it's a bit more fun to be in the other seats if you're not driving and gunning the tank, so that you actually kind of have a purpose in the vehicle. So, the gunner seat essentially just allows you to man the 50 caliber robotic gun on the rear of the tank, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, I mean, I did do this cool thing. I don't really know what to say about that, but I think it's cool. But other than the gunner seat and the 50 cal, the commander actually has a working optic, which you can look around with and stuff. Which, I just realized I completely forgot to add the laser to it, because I like to do a thing where if you're in a completely different seat other than the driver, and you have your own optic, I like to add a little laser to it, so that the driver can actually see that laser and then see what you're looking at, so that you can make the driver at least a little bit self-aware of his surroundings, or her, depending on your gender. I don't know. But, other than that, I have, as you may have already seen from me fiddling around with the keys on my computer, the hatches do open. The periscopes, unfortunately, don't work. There have been a few times in the past with some of my older vehicles where I added cameras on the periscopes, but that ended up just making it really annoying to get to the, gunner optic for the actual gun, so I ended up just not doing that anymore. Other than the loader and commander hatches, the driver hatch also opens up on its own as well. Or not on its own, but you can open and close the driver hatch and what so and what so not. Then there are buttons on the inside where you can actually turn on some lights. So there are floodlights, and then there's just normal headlights, and then you have hazard lights, which are just the brake lights in this term of things, but other than that, it has some prop smoke grenades built within the front turret cheek of both sides, and since the turret itself is actually symmetrical, I think that's the right word, unlike the Abrams, where one side of the turret is at a different angle from the other, this one is a perfect copy, and I do that because, honestly, I don't want to work on a tank that has uneven sides, because then I would have to build one side and then do a completely different thing with the other side, and I just do not like doing that, because that is just a very tedious process, especially on vehicles like this, where they have weird angles that slope down, but also slope up. It's really weird. It's also why I don't have all of the corners fully filled, but if you do the same thing in this game, you'd understand why. But other than that, that pretty much summarizes this tank. Other than all of the other stuff I mentioned, I also tried my best to add some realistic details to the tank. I added the ammo to the back of the turret, and then yes, I know that's kind of an ammo rack hazard, where it doesn't have the slide door like the Abrams, but if I just had a normal slide door, like just a gray panel right there, it wouldn't really look all that appealing, and it would just make it look really plain. So I ended up just making it a exposed ammo rack, and then here's some of the ammo itself. It's a 130mm gun. My bad. But yeah, so that's what the APFSDS looks like, or the armor piercing ammo, if you're not that much of a nerd. I have actually designed some of the machine gun ammo for the gun, which you can see right here. And then I also added some MREs for the term of, like, or not term, but for the realism of you're in this tank and you're probably going to be in it for a while, so here, have some snacks. So, yeah. But other than that, I added the little joysticks that move around. I also fully animated the gun breach, which took me super long to figure out how to do that. I have known how to make the reload rate thing work for a while, but that was just by complete luck and random. So I'm probably never going to be able to do that in terms of air-to-air or just missile-wise at all. So honestly, I'm just sticking it with my tanks because it also involves math bricks, which I just barely understand. And I think the actual system is somewhere around here, if I can find it. I think it's in the back, yeah. So this is the whole thing. Now, the reload rate for this doesn't have math bricks. There are a few vehicles of mine that do have math bricks involved, but those are really like the really complicated ones. This one does. Oh no, I think this is just switches, but yeah, no, this is just for the joystick movement and stuff like that. But my point is that I tried my best. There isn't really a good way to say it, especially with a person like me, but I mean, I tried. I also have the whole breach itself molded in, along with the machine gun, or the coaxial machine gun. I was thinking of giving it a magazine, but I'm really bad at modeling small arms, as you can probably see. So I just ended up not doing it, and I'm probably going to do it soon, but I don't know when. As you may have already seen, the gun breech itself does move back and open up the breech every time you fire, and the nice thing about this is that the entire barrel at the front also moves back when you fire, and then some of the smoke from the round comes out the barrel. So I thought that was a little neat thing to add. But in summary, that pretty much is it for this demonstration of my vehicle. I mean, I haven't shown how powerful it is, so I'll just do that. Yeah, as you can see, it completely folded a tank that I'm gonna show right after my Cerberus. Yeah, so the 130 on my Cerberus is absolutely devastating when it comes to medium to heavy armor. And then the actual tank itself is very well armored as well, but I'd rather save my computer's CPU from too much lag, so I'm not going to demonstrate that right now. And I know it's a little weird how I would shoot one of my other tanks, but I wouldn't shoot this one. That's because this one has a lot of bricks, and the one over there, not as many. And honestly, I'd rather keep my computer from sounding less of a fan than it already does. Because I don't know if my mic can hear it, but my computer sounds like a PS1 if it was healthy. Um, Enough of my blabbering, or whatever people call it. I'm gonna go to the tank I just shot. This would be the XA EMTV4B, or yeah, 49B1, the Masala Hakame. I have no idea if I pronounced that. Sorry if anyone understands Finnish, but the nickname is Finnish for Black Dragon. So, yeah. I thought that was just a little neat nickname to give a tank. This is by far my most modern tank, in terms of like fiction and non-fiction, because this is a working railgun tank. So, yeah, the railgun works. It has all that fun stuff that you'd expect from a railgun, the lights, the charge up, and all that stuff. But, to actually demonstrate the perks, or not necessarily the perks, but like what it looks like design-wise, yeah, I'll just get to that. I'm really bad at explaining stuff, so sorry. Uh, this one I haven't really worked on all that much, but that's only because time on specific vehicles kind of gets cut short when it comes to me getting a great new idea for another vehicle. So, yeah, the driver's port practically empty. I mean, I do have a cool sliding door for the hatch, kind of like my Cerberus, but that's really all I gotta say for the driver's port. For the turret though, the turret is probably one of my more weird designs, I guess. But this one is really weird because, this is like one of the very few times where I've actually been able to cramp 3 seats into like a very small space without it making it look abstract. So yeah, this is just my overall attempt of making it look somewhat nice. But yeah, so this would be the ammo, which you pick up and you put it through here, and then you pull down the ammo belt, connect it to the ammo belt in here, and then it just automatically feeds rounds into the chamber every time you fire. So yeah, pretty simple, and I honestly don't know enough about tank guns, specifically railgun weapons, to actually know how it would all work, so I just tried my best with making a educated guess of how it would work realistically. But this, if I can remember, this right here is the commander seat. Or, no, wait. Yeah, no, this is the commander seat. That would be the gunner, and this would be the loader. Yeah, I got that right. So, loader here, gunner there, commander here. The gunner can't, or not the gunner, my god. The loader can't necessarily do much in terms of actually reloading the gun by themselves, because you can see how their seat is kind of cramped right here. So my solution to this would be that the loader would turn around on his seat, grab an ammo box, hand it to the commander so that the commander could put it in here, and attach everything. So the loader and commander kind of have to work together to load the gun, but its actual speed in terms of like teamwork is actually pretty fast. My guess would be like 5-second reload between ammo boxes, depending if your crew were to be like fully trained on reloading this one specific weapon. But yeah, so the mag itself, or the box of ammo, would have, I think, if I can remember, like 20 rounds of ammunition, I think. I don't necessarily remember what I came up with, but it would basically just have a lot of ammo. The actual gun is by far my most powerful gun. It can actually destroy the armor of my Cerberus, which I know isn't very impressive to you because you haven't actually seen the armor of my Cerberus in testing, which I'll probably do here in a second, well, sooner or later, but I just don't want to risk my game crashing right now, so I'm not going to do it at this moment. But enough about that, and more about the rest of the actual vehicle. So, as you can see, its gun configuration is kind of bizarre in terms of tank design, but other than the weird design, it's actually quite conventional in terms of survivability and just overall terms of a tank. One of the good things about the gun being like this is the fact that it can look down really far. And I got this idea from the HSTVL and the M1128 Striker. Now, those are pretty interesting vehicles to base a railgun tank gun off of, but it wasn't necessarily the gun, rather than it was the idea of having an elevated gun. So the only reason why I did this is mainly because of hold down. And if you don't know what hold down is, it's basically where you get on a hill or a specific slope and your turret is the only thing that the enemy can see. And this is very beneficial to you because if you have a very armored turret, they're not going to be able to do much to you. So the perks of having a elevated gun would mean that if the enemy can shoot through your turret, they won't be able to see your turret. Henceforth, hold down keen in a way. So yeah, a good demonstration of this hold down thing would be if I were to be like all the way over here. And then I would just crest this hill a little bit. So yeah, I can already see the other version of my tank. Or not other version, but the other one of my tank. So if I were to go all the way over here to my other railgun tank and look at my position, as you can see, you literally only see the gun, optic, and machine gun. So yeah, it also gives you quite a low profile, and also means that the enemy can't really hit you that well, because either you have crazy good aim with your vehicle, or you're just going to have a very hard time shooting this one specific thing. Unless you have an ATGM or an anti-tank missile of some sort, then yeah, no, you're pretty much just screwed. Another part of its weaponry, like I said, would be the machine gun. I don't necessarily remember what this kind of machine gun would be called. I don't know if it would be considered a coaxial or like just a robotic. But other than that, it's just a normal, I wouldn't say 50 cal, like a 7.62, like a really low RPM 7.62. It's just basically one of those, but the nice thing about it is that it isn't affected by the laser rangefinder. So I ended up just putting the rangefinder itself on the machine gun. And the reason why I did this is because the machine gun looks up and down, and that's very useful because the way I make laser rangefinders is that I put them on a static surface, and they will have the ability to look up and down, but the only reason why I don't attach it to the gun itself is because it basically, yeah, like if you look beyond visual range, it will make the gun look up. So if the laser rangefinder was, like, for example, at the very end of the gun, I would basically pretty much not be able to aim at all. So the blue laser would be the barrel, and the red laser would be where the round should hit. So yeah, but if the laser rangefinder were to be on that blue laser, that would mean it would infinitely look up and not let you aim accurately, like, at all. So yeah, it's not ideal, but that's a very good reason why I don't put the rangefinder on the main gun. I could have done it with just by putting the sensor for the rangefinder within the optics, but that won't work because, unfortunately, sensors that are detecting everything, you can't necessarily put them inside of things. Otherwise, they're going to see what they're inside of and range find off of that every time you try and activate it. So that's why I have it on the machine gun, because it is fully exposed, its vision isn't obstructed by any object, so yeah, it just works, and I am not complaining. So it's very accurate, which is very nice, and having an accurate laser rangefinder on a tank like this in a game like this can sometimes be very nice, and most of the time can actually sometimes save you. But that would be if you were actually in a good server that had normal human beings fighting. So yeah, this tank in terms of actual combat effectiveness from what I've tested out, it's not the best, but I mean, it works. It gets the job done, and plus, come on, it looks cool. Yeah, so that basically concludes the show and tell of my railgun tank. Now is where I get to the cooler-ish stuff. I'm not gonna get to the plane just yet, but I will show you the Hornet that I have. Well, actually, I'll just say this: it is a turboprop helicopter slash jet plane in a way. That's why I'm saying turboprop. Yeah, this is exactly what it looks like. It is literally just a custom designed version of the Hornet from Halo. I know I stuttered a little bit on that, but that's because I was running out of oxygen. So this is basically kinda doesn't really need a introduction design-wise, because, I mean, come on, it's quite appealing to the human eye, but, this vehicle, the main reason why I made it is only because of a accident. It was originally supposed to be a normal helicopter. It's just the more I looked at the cockpit, the more I realized it wouldn't really fit well as a helicopter design. And I know some of you may be like, oh yeah, no, it would have looked awesome if it was a normal helicopter. And I agree. I can definitely see how I could have done that. But I had the best idea of my life to where I would just try and attempt to make a Hornet helicopter from Halo. But if it were to be mixed with the helicopter from Avatar, which I do not remember the name of. I think it was like Wasp or something. I don't know. But I ended up doing it. I have a few images of what it looked like before, so I'll actually throw a few of those up on the screen as well as some prototype images of my 2 other tanks that I just showed. So, yeah. But other than that, I'm just going to wait here for a second so that you can look at those images. Alright. Hopefully you like those images. Those are very old, so if they do look a little different from the actual tanks and helicopter itself, that's because those were the images I was taking before I actually finished their real design that I have in mind. Back to the Hornet helicopter though, as you can see on the video, it flies very well. It has its own little cruise mode, which I still haven't really perfected yet, but it's basically just a mode where you can just fly perfectly straight without any problems, and like I said, I haven't really perfected it, so it's not really the best, but I mean, it does get you around the place that flies very fastly, and since this thing is like helicopter slash jet, it has a lot of aerodynamics to it rather than overall helicopterness, but as you can also see, is very, very, very slowly guided by thrusters, and yes, I know that's not really ideal for a helicopter, but only reason for this is because if I didn't use those thrusters, 1, the cruise mode wouldn't work, 2, the helicopter wouldn't fly, 3, I also wouldn't be able to do barrel rolls or actually look up or down. So, yeah, because I'm not that much of an aerodynamics nerd, especially when it comes to this game engine. But, other than those downsides, because thrusters do explode, this thing is actually kind of tanky. I've taken a lot of consideration to the overall protection of this aircraft, and it is kind of a rat vehicle. I have combat tested it in a lot of servers, and a lot of people really didn't like me, but, yeah, that's kind of why it looks like the way it is, mainly because it is combat tested, not just built, without consideration of how it would be in actual combat, game-wise. So yes, this vehicle is solely made for combat within the game. And I know that it's not going to be the best, but it is the first time that I've ever made a vehicle of this sort. I've always wanted to make one like this, but I've never actually been able to successfully pull it off until recently. Which is why I put so much work into it, and that's also one of the reasons why I haven't uploaded a lot of videos on Perfect, and why I had to use clips and videos from my gaming sessions as placeholders for said videos. But in the actual term of this vehicle being useful, you have 2 auto-loaded cannons. I also gave animated breaches. You get 2 chain guns that also work really well, and then you also get 2 missile launchers. If I can... the missile launchers are IR guided, so, yeah, you can kind of see why this thing's a rat vehicle now. But it's also not that. Heat-seeking missiles, like these ones, don't necessarily work against this thing, because as you've seen, these little tiny red boxes all over the engines and bottom back of the tail, those are actually flare pieces, or flare bricks from in the game. Their size is unideal. I can't actually change the size of them for all I know currently, but the whole purpose of them is kind of obvious. If a missile's near you, they'll activate and what so what. The only thing that really makes this vehicle annoying, though, is that when the actual aircraft senses a missile, it is going to mag dump them. So if I were to, like, go all the way over here, yeah, so an enemy from all the way over there shoots a heat-seeking missile, literally not going to do anything to you. Because it's just, one, the amount of flares being pumped out, two, the fact that there's just flares in general, and then three, you're not going to be able to get close enough to this thing. And unless you also have flare blocks, this thing is absolutely going to destroy you. I did want to give it a home build air-to-air missiles, like what I do with my planes and stuff like that, but it ended up being too high brick and caused the vehicle to be very laggy, which I do not want. This thing is supposed to be combat-proof, so that you can actually use it in public servers, which it's very capable of, and I'm very happy with that. It's just the only problem is that lag does affect the vehicle very unduly. And what I mean by this is that when the game lags, it can sometimes stall the engine out. Because the thrusters isn't the only thing that actually make the engine move. Or not the engine move, the vehicle move. What I mean by this is that there's actually a bunch of propellers that propel the vehicle forward, along with the thrusters. The thrusters are just there to help it actually get up off the floor, because this thing's actually really heavy. Whenever the game lags, though, it can sometimes make the RPM of one specific engine to kind of slow down or speed up, so it can sometimes make you either fall out of the sky, or it can sometimes make you barrel roll, or it will just make you fly into the atmosphere due to the engines going to a insanely high RPM that they shouldn't be able to do, but a lag. So, yeah. The only way to keep your engines from doing that, though, is to press the brake key. Because if I were... So, right now, if I were to put them up a high RPM, so yeah, now I'm gliding. But if I were to press the brake key, I instantly start falling down. And the reason why you're supposed to do this when the game lags is mainly because the brake just stops the engine from, making you stall out, and it just stops all of the propellers so that when you actually try and fly again, the engines are at the same RPM as each other, and it doesn't make you want to turn into 4th of July, aka a really big bomb. So, yeah, that's that. And there are two other versions of this helicopter. Yes, I made a space version of it. And the only reason why I did this is because, well, come on, it's a Hornet-based vehicle, and it's also based off a vehicle from Avatar. So, of course, I'm gonna make an outer space version of it. And it works very well. I think it also flies, I mean, it doesn't fly in the normal maps, but it does work in the space maps. I'm too lazy to do that, though. I will do it at the end of the video. A vehicle I will show you, though, is this one. And yes, it's literally just a bigger version of the normal Hornet, but this one is actually the Frigate Bird. And yes, I wanted it to be called the Pelican. And if I did that, it would have been way too obvious. So I ended up just calling it the Frigate Bird, which realistically, in real life, the Frigate Bird is real and is sometimes mistaken for the Pelican, the bird, not the aircraft. So I ended up just calling it the Frigate Bird just for the old funny part of it, making it look like the Pelican and stuff like that. And yes, I know it doesn't actually look like a pelican, but still funny. other than that, it does fly. It is a bit slower, but the cruise mode for this is somewhat perfected. And yes, it does make you fly very high when you're using it, but I don't have my hand on my mouse at all. And it's flying perfectly straight. Well, maybe not perfectly, but you get the point. And then the brakes there is a very, very, very strong. And sometimes you can also hover in place just by using the brakes. Same for the other one. So yeah, as you can see, I'm literally now hovering in the sky with just the brakes on. So yeah, you can understand why this thing is really funny and fun to fly. Since it is the transport version though, of course, it's going to have a lot more seats, a lot more flares, and also less weapons. So this thing gets a downgraded version of the chain guns on the normal Hornet, and rather than it being a 4-barrel 25mm, this one only gets a 3-barrel 20mm. So, yeah. You can kind of see how the downgrade definitely affects it, but it still works, it still has weapons, and plus, it's a transport vehicle. So honestly, you don't really have to be all that worried about your weaponry, rather than actually transporting your men place to place. Something that I just remembered that I haven't shown, the cockpit actually does open. So, yeah, it's like that on all the Hornets, and the camera in the front for all the Hornets also works. So, there's that, and then all the dashboard stuff, all this fancy, fancy stuff, this also works. So, the CG rangefinder, aka the chain gun rangefinder, I haven't perfected it yet, but it works and is quite funny. I have a static radar, which also works, but it's very, very, very small in terms of, like, actually being able to see a full target, so it's not really that it's not really that good, but it's mostly just there so that you can tell if you're actually looking at the guy that you're trying to hit. And then there's a working altitude system, which, when you're too close to the ground, it will make these lights flicker. And then that noise and the button I just clicked or pressed, this is the actual altitude system. So yes, it looks really weird, but it's literally just 4 sensors that are spinning very fast and looking in every single direction. Up, down, left, right. And yes, that's not every single direction, but those are the most important ones. Now, those ones are the ones that actually activate the light. The altitude system, I got it mixed up. The altitude system button just shows you what altitude you're at. So right now, I'm at like 62 meters. Yeah, I'm like 62 meters above the ground. And then this would be the nav lights, which, as you expect, they're just literally the navigation lights. And yeah, then there's also cockpit lights. Cool. Other than that, the other Hornet, the base one, it does have more stuff on, this, but that's mainly because, it has a new sensor, the Canon rangefinder. Now, the Canon rangefinder is very, very weird because, it technically wasn't supposed to be added, but I got the brilliant idea to make it work. So, all it is just a movement sensor at, I think, the normal angular speed, and the faster you go, the higher the rangefinder goes. And the reason for this is so that you can actually tell what velocity you're going at, so that you can arc your round at a velocity to where it would actually hit. So if I were to, like, for example, just fly over here. And also not slow down. Don't know why I'm not slowing down. So if I were to just, like, for example, that canister over there that's already been blown up. Boom. The rangefinder works. And if I were to do that, it's not really the most accurate. It mostly works when you're flying in a straight line. It doesn't necessarily work when you're flying at a downwards angle while also moving left or right. But it works, and I'm not complaining. The only vehicle that doesn't get the rangefinder, though, would be the space version, because why do you need a rangefinder in outer space? Kinda zero purpose, because there's no reason to have to arc around in outer space when there is no reason to arc it, since there's no air velocity, or no air resistance, there's no things that would obstruct the round, like wind velocity and stuff like that, so it doesn't really need the rangefinder, like, at all. So yeah, dashboard kind of empty. But yeah, that concludes the 3 Hornets, and yes, this one also has working cockpit doors. Before I go to my airplane, though, something that you might have asked yourself, yes, the doors do also open. The ones on the space version of the Hornet are kind of slow, but that's only because it's outer space, and the hydraulics don't really want to work well. So I just wanted to make that somewhat realistic. The Hornet, the normal one, the doors are the same, but they also open faster. Yay! Yeah, so that's pretty much that. My airplane, where is it? So, yeah, this is going to be the last vehicle of the video, before I get to the last few things, like testing out the armor of my Cerberus. This is the FA-17 Raven, and yes, that sounds like a very American aircraft name, but that's only because I'm really bad at naming aircraft, and honestly really need to work on it. So I just went with whatever came up with my mind, and yeah, I came up with the FA-17 Raven. This would be the first plane that I've ever made that has a fully circular cockpit design. I know it looks pretty ugly, but that's because this is the first ever successful, like, circular design, because if I were to, like, for example, go all the way back here and get my last built aircraft, which is my SG-3, yeah, it's literally fully made out of cubical pieces, and the only things that are circular would be the cockpit itself and the upper fuselage and the engine, and that's literally it. Oh, and the missiles. But the missiles don't count. That's not part of the plane. That's literally just the weapons. But the Raven literally would just be a actual realistic plane design in terms of aerodynamics. But yeah, I messed up that vocab so horribly. In terms of aerodynamics. There we go. This thing, as you may have already noticed, does not have designed ports for the, landing gear. That's only because I did not want to spend half my life, fixing that. And I just ended up making it a static thing. And then I also did some of the same stuff for here. Even though I could have done it for this part, I would not have been able to fit it, only because the gun and all of the systems are right here. So I ended up just doing it like this for all the landing gear. And I mean, come on, it worked out, so I'm not complaining. But I wish I could have done it. It would have been nice, but enough of that, and more to the actual flight performance. Now, this aircraft I've actually tested out in a public server. It was not the best airplane that anyone's ever thought against, but it was definitely really fun to fly. I mean, its airframe in terms of like turn rate and actual like effectiveness in a dogfight, it's pretty mediocre. But the thing that makes this thing really work in a public match would be these missiles. Now, these missiles are very special because they are the first ever air-to-air that I've actually made that works very, very well in a public server in terms of lag. And the reason why these work so well is because they're not full of everything. And what I mean is they're not very high brick. So the guidance or the tracking system, yes, it looks like an absolute mess, but that's decently low brick. Like, pretty much everything on this missile is color-coded, but is also very low brick. So, yeah. I will make a tutorial video for how to make this kind of missile in the future. I'm probably not going to do a lot of commentary, because I suck at doing commentary while building, so, yeah. Other than that, though, the missiles work very nice in public servers. They do what they're supposed to do, and yes, they're very easy to miss with, but that's because they are sensor guided and not sensor slash calculation guided. And what I mean by this is that this is fully guided by sensors and is not babysitted by math bricks. So, yeah. That's something. Other than that, though, the missiles are very nice, and they work, which I've already said. Other than the missiles, though, the other weapons that I've given this plane would be the guided bombs, which are also very funny. I got around, like, 5 kills with just these bombs, and I've only gotten like 2 of them onto this plane, only because they're actually pretty high brick. These bombs are very goofy because they have the same tracking system as one of my best air-to-air missiles. I don't think they have the same one as this one, but if I were to go in and free cam the inside, it would have the same guidance, it would have the same mess of a tracking system, but it works surprisingly well for no reason. It definitely does like to damage everything around it, and it's more of like a if it sees you, it will hit you kind of weapon. And I'll demonstrate that real quick. So if I were to just get my car, which I'll show in a different video, I'll talk about it later, only because I'm too lazy and I have other things to do. Back to the plane. I'm gonna demonstrate how good the actual, vision of the bombs are. And I'm not gonna drop it right here because I'm just too close. They are kind of tricky to aim with at times, and yes, you do have to aim with a guided bomb. You cringe get with it. That's only because they are fully sensor guided and are babysitted by, math bricks. Where is tough? The guided bombs do maneuver very fastly, but they are very weird when it comes to lag. Yeah. I might have to use a bigger target, because that thing has a lot of holes in it. Like I said, it's really tricky to aim with. It also doesn't necessarily like to track small targets, even though it's supposed to be specifically built for that. Same goes for the missile, because it technically uses the same guidance system. Weird. Yeah, I'm just gonna use a tank. Right, this should be, oh god. It's a little embarrassing for me to give a lot of good notes to a weapon of mine and then have it not work. Bad timing, but like I said, it definitely has its pros and cons and whatnot. I put way too much art into that. Alright. You can just say it's a skill issue at this point. I'm not necessarily good at actually fighting in this game, let alone actually aiming, especially with my own stuff. I just leave that mostly to whoever decides to use my stuff. And yeah, that should hit. Hopefully. There we go. So yeah, it definitely didn't hit, but you could probably hear the tracking system and stuff like that. It sometimes decides to work and sometimes doesn't, but hopefully, yeah, I put that. Man, I suck at this. Oh wait, hold on, I actually forgot. This thing has a working target pod, so I'm gonna try and use that. I know it's not really gonna help me, but it's gonna stabilize the camera that I'm using. Huh. That's weird, that should have hit. Maybe my thing doesn't work anymore. It used to work really well, I don't know why it's deciding not to work now. I put way too much art to that. What if I were to drop it from... Oh, there we go. Okay. I don't know why it was taking so long to guide. Yeah. I mean, I did say that it had a pretty small, like... Actually, I didn't really say it exactly, like, a small field of view, but, I did mention that it kind of struggles to see small things, or just things in general. It does work, though, and I did get 5 kills with it, believe it or not, knowing my horrible aim. But, yeah, the guided bombs work, and the missiles also work. It's just I'm gonna use a pretty decently low brick vehicle of mine so that I don't crash my game when I use it. I'm just gonna demonstrate the air-to-airs real quick, even though they're probably gonna decide to just not want to work with me, like my guided bombs. Actually, I'm gonna try this without slow-mo, and then I'm going to try it with slow-mo here in a second. Just so that you can see better how it tracks, understand why they're not the best. I did get a few kills with the missiles too. I think I got like 4 or 3 kills with it. I gotta reset the line real quick. Since the missile uses the same tracking system, you still have to aim with it, which can be annoying at times. But once they actually start to see a target, like now, they definitely don't like the miss. And I do like that a lot. And since this missile doesn't have a lot to it, it doesn't necessarily have the best tracking system on it. And as you can see right there, it also has a very slow turn rate, so it's honestly just better to use it at a slow speed at a range. And even then, that doesn't necessarily matter, because, you know, people are always moving all over the place and not in one singular direction like I'm playing right now. But yeah, if I were to just shoot this in slow motion, you can see how the thrusters are just guiding it towards the target, and that should be a hit. Yeah. So yeah, you can somewhat now see why my missiles don't always like to work, and same for the tracking systems, but yeah. I mean, I would show you my best air-to-air missile right now, but I don't know if it works anymore due to the aerodynamics thing. But, yeah, before the video ends, I'm just gonna show how good the armor on this thing is, or on my Cerberus tank. God, I almost said Cerberus. On my Cerberus tank is. So I'm just gonna do that. Actually, I have to be really close to this. Forgot this thing doesn't have a barrel laser. No, this technically shouldn't go through. Yeah. So this tank used to be my strongest one before I made the Cerberus. It has 40 AP cannons that shoot at the same time. So if you don't understand stuff like, like the armor penetration or just the penetration of the AP rounds in this game, you would like definitely know that it's very strong armor if you do understand that stuff. But for those who don't understand that stuff, I think like one AP round is like 5 or 10. No, wait, hold on. I gotta remember. I don't necessarily remember the exact calculations of what someone did, but I know that it was pretty high. So yeah, there's the Cerberus shooting itself. So yeah, like I said, the armor is very strong, and then the only vehicle that should actually be able to damage the armor would probably be my railgun tank. And I know that it's not going to be able to penetrate through the whole thing, but it definitely messes up the armor really well. So yeah. I'm actually really glad my game isn't lagging like crazy right now because I'm shooting this thing's army. Thought it would be laggier. But yeah, as you can see, the railgun tank absolutely destroyed the first layer of composite armor, but other than that, the Cerberus is really nicely armored, and then the same goes for the actual railgun tank. If I were to shoot it in the lower front plate, it wouldn't go through. I'm actually really confused how that didn't do anything. There we go. Yeah, so it doesn't fully go through, but it definitely does a lot of damage, because this thing isn't really built for armor. The turret itself is also pretty armored as well. It's actually better armored than the chassis in a way, but yeah. So as you can see, there's like practically no internal damage, other than right here, of course. But yeah, so all right. Hello again. This is just the demonstration of the Space Hornet in, well, outer space. Uh, like I said, it isn't really much different from the normal Hornet, uh, other than it's built for outer space. Um, it still serves the same purpose, it uses the same weapons. Only difference weaponry-wise would be the fact that, it uses the 20 millimeter chain gun that the Frigate Bird uses rather than the 25 like the normal base Hornet. And the only reason for that is due to recoil and impracticacy in terms of other things that I just don't want to mention right now. But yeah, so. Alright, well, if you enjoyed today's video, definitely leave down a like and comment. You don't necessarily have to do it, but I'm just saying it would be nice if you could. And then same goes for subscribing. If you could subscribe to my channel, that would definitely mean a lot to me, and I would deeply appreciate it. Anyways, have a great day, and